Chair Rogner, Vice Chair Gavarone, and Ranking Member Blackshear, and members of the committee. My name is Roger Gibb. I'm from Mason, Warren County, Ohio Senate District 7. My remarks today will refute one of the false claims that is commonly repeated by those in opposition to Convention of States, namely that the Constitutional Convention of 1787 was a runaway convention. More specifically, the claim is that Congress called the Convention of 1787 for the sole and express purpose of revising the Articles of Confederation. However, the convention departed from the mission that Congress had given it. The convention did not simply draft amendments to the Articles of Confederation. Instead, it proposed an entirely new constitution to replace the Articles of Confederation. Now, you might wonder why this claim is relevant to our discussion on whether Ohio should request an Article 5 convention through SJR 3. It's germane because our opposition contends that if the Convention of 1787 was runaway, then it's likely that an Article 5 convention could also go off the rails. However, if it's false, then the runaway Article 5 convention claim has no precedent in American history and therefore no legs to stand on. In 2017, Michael Farris published an 86-page article in the Journal of Law and Public Policy, wherein he refuted, using original source documents, the claim that the Convention of 1787 was runaway. Robert Nadelson, the nation's preeminent scholar on the Article 5 convention process, also published on this topic in the Tennessee Law Review in 2010, and he came to the same conclusion. Their key points that refute the claim that the Convention of 1787 was runaway are as follows. Point number one, Virginia called the Convention of 1787 in the fall of 1786, not Congress, as our opposition asserts. The Virginia legislature instructed their delegates to join with delegates of the other states to devise and discuss, quote, all such alterations and further provisions as may be necessary to render the federal constitution adequate to the exigencies of the Union. In 1786, the term federal constitution was understood to mean the federal political system. And so in modern language, Virginia instructed its delegates to find a solution to the country's federal political problems. Now, importantly, Virginia did not instruct her delegates to only propose amendments to the Articles of Confederation or to not draft a new constitution. So point number two, Congress did not call the Convention of 1787. It couldn't because it didn't have the authority to do so under the Articles of Confederation. Congress also did not have the authority to limit the scope of conventions called by the states. Point number three, on February the 21st, 1787, after 7 states had committed to attend the Convention of 1787, Congress endorsed the convention and issued its opinion that it should be held, quote, for the sole and express purpose of amending the Articles of Confederation, close quote. Now, Congress explicitly said that this was only its opinion, i.e. not a directive, and there's no evidence that Congress transmitted a letter to the executive officers in any state to do anything. Point number four, 12 of the 13 states attended the Convention of 1787. 10 of those 12 states followed Virginia's lead and gave their delegates broad power to find a solution to the federal political problem that the country was facing. They did not instruct their delegates to not draft a new constitution. However, 2 states, New York and Massachusetts, did instruct their delegates to only propose amendments to the Articles of Confederation. And finally, point number 5, delegates from the 12 states followed their respective instructions pertaining to what they were and were not allowed to do at the convention. The 10 states that were given broad authority from their legislatures, those are the states that drafted our Constitution. And so in closing, I'd like to share a quotation from Michael Farris's article in the Harvard Law and Public Policy. When we raise our hands to swear allegiance to the Constitution and promise to defend it against all enemies, foreign or domestic, we can do so with a clear conscience. The Constitutional Convention was called by the states. The delegates obeyed the instructions from their respective legislatures as to the scope of their authority. The Constitution of the United States was validly and legally adopted. So I urge you to support SJR 4, and I thank you for our service to Ohio.